7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. I'm Dan and I've been designing kitchen gadgets for 40 years. I'm gonna test some sandwich gadgets and see if I can find a way to make them better. Cut it in half, a bigger bezel. I would try to make more of a channel. These are the products I am going to test. Breakfast sandwich maker, burger holder, Condiment Raygun, sandwich cutter and sealer, mayo knife, jar scraper. Breakfast sandwich maker. Its purpose in life is to make a breakfast sandwich quickly and all in one go. Let's see how effective it is. Okay, let's make a breakfast sandwich. Muffin bottom. I'm gonna place the cheese, ham next. Let's put this top back on. It is time for the scrambled egg, and hopefully this is not gonna leak or not leak too badly. Let that cook for a bit. Now, put the muffin top right on the egg while it's cooking. Close it up. I'm gonna set the timer for 4 minutes. And let's go do something else for 4 minutes. Okay, there's the beep. So I'm going to slowly check it. There's a middle plate here that's gonna slide out. Once that slides out, the top and bottom half of the sandwich are joined. Let's slide it onto the plate. Okay, it's really hot. I'm gonna take a bite, hopefully not burn myself. But we're okay. The egg's still cooked. The muffin isn't toasted on the inner surface, and you probably wouldn't expect it to be. Maybe I could have left it in there a little bit longer. Maybe I think if I was doing this at home, I would pre-toast the muffin so it gets a little more crispy. Other than that, if you really like breakfast sandwiches, then this could be a worthwhile device. Let's see how the breakfast sandwich maker compares with things you may already have in your kitchen. Gotta say, they don't taste much different. I mean, either technique you use to make the sandwich, the taste is the same, so they're pretty comparable. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the breakfast sandwich maker a 5 out of 5. It only does one thing, but it does it pretty well. Let's test its usability. And to do that, I'm gonna challenge myself by using my non-dominant hand and making it slippery. By making my non-dominant hand slippery, it's going to highlight any deficiencies in the design. Open things up. I'm gonna place the cheese, ham next. Close the first layer, let that cook. Egg on top. There's nothing really surprising happening here with my left hand. I've got a breakfast sandwich. The cheese is making it a little slippery. These handles are not hot to touch. Have to be careful touching them that you don't touch the metal parts. I'm just gonna add a little bit of hot sauce before I test out this sandwich. No, it's fine. It tastes great. I think that's what I would do to complete the stack. I think I would add a little bit of hot sauce. In terms of usability, I would give it a 5 out of 5. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty intuitive. Let's talk about a redesign. Some of the improvements I think I would make to this would be on this number. It's a little hard to see from an angle. If you're looking that way, what you're gonna miss are these bars of the number because there's just not enough space here. The simple solution would be a bigger bezel so that when your eye is looking from here, you can see the entire number. You see this in elevators a lot. Sometimes you can't tell what floor you're on in an elevator because part of the number is obscured. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the breakfast sandwich maker a 5 out of 5. But a disclaimer, it really is a one-trick pony. 5 out of 5, what do you think? Thanks, Dan. You're welcome. Burger holder. Its purpose in life is to let you hold a burger without making a mess. No, I'm not kidding. And yes, for the purposes of this video, a burger is a sandwich. Leave your comments accordingly. Let's see how effective it is. I've got a Beyond Burger here. It's a rather tall burger. I'm going to place it in the same position that I would hold it by hand. Let's give it a bite. No complaints yet. However, I am anticipating problems ahead. I have reached a point where I'm not quite sure what to do next. So I'm gonna loosen it up a little bit. Now I'm gonna have to dig my fingers in there, so the idea of not getting your hands dirty, I think, is out the window. Well, didn't catch the onion. I'm also at a point now where I see a problem. There is no way for me to finish this hamburger using the burger holder. I guess I could try looking up at the sky, opening my mouth as wide open as it can go, and just dumping this entire piece of burger into my mouth. Not great. Let's see how the burger holder compares to just using your hands like a normal person. Eating a hamburger the normal way, it is a little messy, but I have a solution. Use a napkin. In terms of effectiveness, I would give it a 1 out of 5. As a matter of fact, I would give it a 1 out of 100. Just doesn't really help. You have to dig your fingers in there anyway. The designers who thought this up, they are solving a problem that does not exist, and to do it, they are making some landfill. Let's talk about usability. I'm going to use my left hand and I'm going to make it a little more slippery. But let's take a bite. We'll start to go through it. It feels slippery. The fact that it's so slippery, it's creating a problem that we didn't have previously. So basically, it's solving problems that didn't exist by creating new problems that we didn't know we had. In terms of usability, I would give the burger holder a 1 out of 5. It's not easy to hold. It's another step in the hamburger eating process that you really don't need. Let's talk about a redesign. Here's what I would do. Instead of a plastic burger holder, I would go to the store, buy a bag of pita, cut the pita in half, make a pita pocket, put the hamburger into the pita pocket, and just eat the whole thing. So essentially, it'll be an edible burger holder. Solved. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the burger holder a 1 out of 5. It doesn't do anything. I hope they don't make a pizza holder. Condiment Raygun. Its purpose in life is to shoot condiments like ketchup or mustard with the pull of a trigger. Let's see how effective it is. I'm going to start by loading it up. You can see how it works is there are 2 plungers on the inside. And this is what we need to fill. And of course, it's going to be easy to do that with a squeeze bottle of ketchup. Put it back in place. Now I'm still open here with the spout, so I'm going to be a little careful. Maybe I will load this and cap it with this little plug just to be a little safe at this point. Both barrels are loaded. We're going to close it up. I am going to start with mustard. So I'm really pumping rather than shooting. And as I pump, it's kind of pulsing out. Also, what's kind of curious here is the plugs are on the bottom. So as the mustard's coming out, it's really dribbling onto the plug, which makes no sense. Now I am pumping, and I gotta say, this is taking some effort for my finger to pump. It's not that easy. It's quite a significant pull that I have to make on the trigger. And there I kind of missed a little bit because my index finger hit the ketchup trigger, which was not intentional. So why not? Let's just pretend I'm from the Midwest and I like ketchup on my ham sandwiches. And let's give that a shot. Now that one's a little more even. Maybe it's the consistency of the ketchup. Okay, let's try it. 1 out of 5. I was totally right about ketchup on a ham and cheese sandwich. Let's see how the Condiment Gun compares to squeezing your condiments right out of the bottle. It's less fun to look at, but a lot more effective. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the Condiment Gun a 1 out of 5. It just didn't deliver. I thought it'd be more fun. I expected a much more even flow of mustard and ketchup. It's time for the left-handed oil test. This time I'm going to try the Condiment Gun on some hot dogs. And yes, for the purposes of this video, a hot dog is a sandwich. 2 pieces of bread, meat in the middle, sandwich. Okay, I'm going to oil up. And boy, it's really hard to press this. So not happy with that. I'm squeezing now and not having a whole lot of ketchup come out. Let's see if it wants to sputter. On another note, I feel like I should mention that I am ethically opposed to putting ketchup on a hot dog, but that's a topic for another day. In terms of usability, I would give the Condiment Gun a 1.5. I want it to work. It looks like fun. It looks like it was going to be fun, but I just couldn't get it to work successfully. So let's talk about a redesign. This is something that should have been real obvious to the design team. If you're dispensing ketchup and mustard, why put the caps right underneath? Because you're going to be right over the food. I don't see why the cap should really be something that pops right over this entire bulb. So make the cap significant, make it big. It'd be more fun. It'd be like two round objects hanging off the side of this. If it hangs off the side, they'd be out there like antennae rather than something that's in the way. The other thing I would look at are these triggers. The shape of the triggers are terrible. Maybe shape them so they're a little more forgiving in terms of pressure points, have some rounded corners. It would be just as easy to mold. But the other thing that's a little difficult is pushing on this takes some work. So in other words, once you pump this way, the ketchup or mustard is going to move forward. But once you release that, it's going to spring back. You're going to get an air gap here. That's why it's spouting. So I would totally rethink this mechanism with some sort of air bladder or pressure bladder or some other system that would much more effectively push the mustard or ketchup to the front of the spout. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the Condiment Gun a 1 out of 5. It's just not working well enough to be any fun. You could just make little ray gun sounds as you're squeezing your mustard or ketchup out of its standard bottle. Like pew, 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 pew. Sandwich, cutter and sealer. Its purpose in life is to make a round sandwich sealed around the edges, kind of like an Uncrustable. I've got some jelly, peanut butter, 2 slices of white bread. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to first measure out so I can see where I want to place the jelly and peanut butter. As you know, when making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the peanut butter goes on one side, the jelly goes on the other. I am now going to assemble. I guess I'll go peanut butter on top, and let's give it a really good press and pull the bread around it. Right now I'm just going to use my fingers and peel it away. Let's see what I have. And that looks okay. The bread broke a little bit, so I may have some gaps here. Let's see how it tastes. Tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with no crust, the best kind. Let's see how the sandwich cutter and sealer compares to eating an Uncrustable. That wasn't hard. I promise we are not being sponsored by Uncrustables, but if anyone at Smucker's wants to send us some money for doing this, we'll take it. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the sandwich cutter and sealer a 5 out of 5. I think it's a pretty simple device. It's actually a pretty crude device, but aside from the amount of waste, I think it works fine. It also gives you a chance to go outside and distribute some breadcrumbs to some pigeons. So that's nice. Let's evaluate its usability by making my non-dominant hand slippery. Cutter on top, crimper on top, and I'm going to press. And I think I'm going to put on a lot of body weight onto this. And let's lift. Let's move the bread to the side. We have a crimped peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Again, what do I do with this? To the pigeons. In terms of usability, I would give this a 4 out of 5. It works pretty well, but there's a little bit of wobble in this mechanism that's giving us a little bit of inconsistency in how it's sealing 360 degrees. One thing that's going through my mind as I'm using this and throwing away significant amounts of bread, what if our shape was bread shape? I think it would salvage this much bread, which would otherwise go to waste. The other thing I would look at is getting rid of this wobble, because I noticed that as I'm pressing down on the bread, the indents are a little more pronounced on this side than on this side. I think what I would do is look for a way to make this part a little more stable and a little less wobbly. Maybe on this green part, I would try to make more of a channel so that it eliminates the wobble. In terms of a buy rating, I would give this a 5 out of 5. That assumes you have kids or you want to make some crimpable sandwiches. It takes a little bit of effort, but aside from the amount of waste, I think it works fine. Bellhop. Mayo knife, jar scraper. Its purpose in life is to scrape out the very last bits of mayonnaise from your almost empty mayonnaise jar. Let's see how effective it is. There's a bit of mayonnaise at the bottom, but I think what we really want to understand is how well does it scrape the sides. And because it's a hard plastic, it's a little short on fully scraping away the mayonnaise. I'm going to spread this onto the bread. And of course that part works, but anything would. Let's assume that's not enough mayonnaise on your BLT. Let's take a shot at Mama mayonnaise jar. Let's go into the jar. I feel like this one is really falling short, so I'm a little disappointed there. Although we're really getting good laying on the mayonnaise on this sandwich. Still, this seems like it needs a little more mayo. It's not quite enough. Let's go to the little baby mayonnaise jar. And this is not mating at all. This is not connecting at all. Meanwhile, let's see what this excessive amount of mayo tastes like on the sandwich. Needs more mayo. Let's see how the mayo knife jar scraper compares to a standard spatula. The spatula is superior. It helps to be flexible. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the mayo knife jar scraper a 1 out of 5. It didn't work well on the large jar, and it didn't work at all on the small jar where this throw is just too large to reach. Time for the left-handed oil test. Let's pick this up. Now, there's nothing really about this that's making it stable in my hand, and I can definitely feel that with my hand being a little slippery. What I really want to do is spin this as I go around. I want to scoop it as I go around, and this handle is not really conducive to spinning the way you would want to spin it. Not having a good time doing this. In terms of usability, I would give the mayo knife a 1 out of 5. It just doesn't do what it promises to do. For a product that's really designed to do one specific thing, it better be amazing at that job, and this isn't. I think rather than base the redesign off of the mayo knife, I think I would do a bit of a hybrid of the mayo knife and the silicone spatula. And if that's the case, I would make sure that this bottom piece is small but flexible enough so that it's going to conform to that radius. I would also make sure that we are no longer than the size of the baby mayonnaise jar. And I'm okay with this handle, kind of like this shape where you want to feel the orientation. So notice this handle isn't completely round, it's an oval. That means I know where this thing is aimed without looking at it. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the mayo knife a 1 out of 5. It just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I think it would be disappointing. I couldn't, in all good faith, recommend this to anyone. Mayonnaise knife, you are truly a waste of plastic. And I do not say that lightly. Well, I've got to say that some of these were rather disappointing, and some of these just I don't think had a reason to exist. Luckily, we had 2 specialized gadgets that seemed to come through. We had 3 that were really rather disappointing. If you're going to make a gadget that's based on sandwiches, you better do a good job or you're just going to make people angry. And I won't lie, a couple of these gadgets can make you pretty angry.